Hi everyone, Lee here, aka Limo57. I hope you're safe and I hope you're well. Just a quick message to remember that your mental health matters, your mind matters, and if you are struggling, please reach out. It is okay not to be okay. You can get in touch with me personally via Discord, via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of the social media platforms, and you can also find the charity that I'm a director for, which is Evolving Mindset, and you can go to www.evolvingmindset.co.uk and you can see the support that we offer there as well. We offer free online advice, support, education and guidance, so please remember you're not on your own. You're not on your own in this community. Remember, mental health matters and your mind matters. Please get in touch and don't suffer in silence.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I'm your host, Tony Jameson, and joining me as always is, of course, Mr. Rich Owens. Rich, how are you?
I am very well, thank you, mate. Very, very well indeed. I've had a lovely, relaxing day, and I'm looking forward to topping that up with just some lovely, relaxing chat as well, if I'm totally honest with you.
Nice. I like that. Stressing straight away the relaxation. Because we must say we'll do a little bit behind the curtains. We're recording about half an hour after the FA Cup finals just finished. It's the hottest day of the year so far, and you're talking about a relaxing day. And before we hit record, I explained to you that I've had to drag my youngest child away from a carnival because he kicked off royally. We were in a queue for an ice cream that he wanted. He was desperate for an ice cream. We stood in a queue. He kicked off because the queue wasn't moving, and I had to try and explain queuing to a 2-year-old. And then as we moved, I said, do you want to go and get an ice cream somewhere else? He went, yes. We moved, and that was the worst thing we could have possibly done. So, yeah, relaxation is not a thing today, sadly. But relaxation is what we're going to do, because we've got a guest. Got a guest making his Football Manager Therapy debut. None other than Dr. Benjy. Dr. Benjy, welcome.
Hello, mate. Thank you. It's a pleasure. I want to set the ground rules early. From now on, I consider us all friends, the three of us, so please call me Ben at every opportunity. The Dr. Benjy thing is one of the biggest errors made in my career. So having to preface that on everything I ever do with people is getting tiresome, frankly. But it's a mistake I've got to live with.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, man. It's lovely to have you in, like I say, and we will of course address you as Ben, but we have to give you the full official title first of all. I'm not giving you the scouting centre intro of weighing in at and with a professional record of, and like it's we can do it, by the way, if anyone's remotely interested. Nearly 59,000 Twitch followers and just shy of 110,000 on YouTube. So woohoo!
Yeah, that's
big numbers.
Yeah, I should be proud of it. You're right. I should be proud of it. Yeah. Yeah, if you do it for long enough, the numbers will roll in. So, yes, I think it's officially a career at this point. I think that's fair to say. So I've been doing it long enough. Yeah, it's all good fun.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I was going to say, you're one of the ones who does it full time, and of course, we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I suppose first of all, we'll talk football, because let's say we've sort of said there half an hour ago, final whistle went, last kick of the match, and I'm guessing this start of this show would have been very different had the result been slightly different, right?
Yeah, I'd have definitely been ill. So it's a good job that that they won. No, it's a phenomenal season, isn't it? My team, Liverpool, are on one this year. Very exciting. I don't think we'll win the league though, but the Champions League definitely possible. It's the most untraditional treble you can do. I don't think anyone's ever completed a cup double, Champions League treble, but we'll take it.
Yeah. The minute you're on the FA Cup, Carabao Cup double, which again is untried. It's one of the ones that you can get. It's a bit like Yahtzee. Like you roll for the big numbers, and you'll settle for the Carabao Cup, FA Cup double.
Yeah. Points are points. You'll take it. You'll take it.
Yeah.
I think it's a funny year though, because we've not been really touted for anything at the start of the season. Everyone's sort of going, oh well, Chelsea look good this year. United have made some good signings. City are always going to be there. Oh yeah, Liverpool good if they've actually play their starting 11 regularly. And now we've literally played every possible game that we could have played all year. Hence that we started to look tired and injured, but that was inevitable with 3 games to go. So I think we're okay with it. Klopp seems happy enough, so I'll back him.
Yeah. Cool, fair enough. He's been given the Dr. Ben vote of confidence early. This is the worst.
He's been
thing,
waiting
right?
for it. If it's anyway, if it lost the FA Cup today, I'd be asking questions. But fortunately for him, he's just about succeeded.
Yeah, excellent. And there you go. And so, what do you reckon? Do you reckon you'll do the league, or do you reckon you'll do the Champions League? Is it one or the other, or can you do all four?
I think at the start of the season, I would have preferred the league over the Champions League. You know, when you've won it so many times, you get bored of the Champions League. Whereas the Premier League is still the thing that I think to have two of them, to have more than Leicester. No disrespect to Leicester, but when people go, "We've won the league," well, yeah, Leicester won the league. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll win another one then.
And Blackburn.
But City are, and Blackburn. That's it, right? But City are so good that you don't even feel. I'm a bit numb to City anyway. So when City do better than you, it's like, well, of course they do better than us. They've spent outrageous amounts of sums to put themselves in this exact position with one of the best managers of all time. They should be at least winning something every year, and we've left the league for them. If anything, we've gone, do you know what, City? I've one thing. I think the Champions League definitely seems doable. I think Madrid are a good team, but I think ultimately we're just that little bit better than them. And in the league, a bad start is going to cost us. Like a strong finish is kind of irrelevant now because we've binned it off early in the year with too many draws. But as I said before, as a season goes, pretty memorable. Like to have to watch every game this year has been really fun.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from. Like, I think when the Champions League semis were finished, I think, like I said to Rich at the time, that once it looked like you were going to get Madrid, it seems like, quote unquote, that's the easier of the draws. Like, I think Liverpool beat Madrid bet easier than they beat Man City. Like, I think Man City is a tougher Champions League final match, whereas I think the way Liverpool play is set up to basically play against Real Madrid. So I think I sort of would say that's technically almost a given. And then it's that thing now of going, there's 2 games left. You know, you're 3 points behind. It's going to come down to bloody Villa, isn't it? Villa are going to have to decide the title.
Yeah, Stevie G. If there's one man you want in the corner of Liverpool to hopefully upset City on the final day, then I guess he's the guy to do it. It's funny because you look at Madrid, you look at their team, you think actually, like the way that the last few years have gone since the Karius final, we'll call it, when Salah got injured early on. My big worry actually is that it means too much to us. It feels like we're righting a wrong a little bit, and I feel like Madrid will go in sort of as Madrid are, this uber arrogant, rightfully uber arrogant guy walks into a pub and just goes, "I'm going to sit wherever I like," and we're like, yeah, but we were first, so if we can just, we were first. Yes, my table though, mate. Yeah, but we were it. Right, you get. Then you sort of have to shrug your way off. Don't you? So that's my big fear with it, that they're so comfortable in the situation, and we're going to be quite an emotional team anyway. It's sort of our strength, but in that scenario, you just can't afford to be. And you're seeing like Van Dijk go off in a cup final, Salah going off in a cup final, Fabinho get injured. Like these key cogs of Liverpool's machine, hopefully will be fit come the final. But I'm looking forward to that. And again, well, let's see have the league. You might have something for your billions. Why not?
Is there also the added narrative twist of former Everton manager Carlo Ancelotti as well?
Yeah, he's trying to complete a proper glory hunter, which I'm all for. Like, he's already kind of done it. The idea that I created, he's now gone. Yeah, if you need me to, I will do. I'm looking at people are tweeting me going, he's completed it. I'm going, has he won the World Cup? Has he? You know, tick everything off before you start tweeting me, because I never did that either. So he's outdone me in real life, which is embarrassing.
It's a wonderful show of appreciation, isn't it, for your work? So
yeah, The bit that I feel really uncomfortable with there, Tony, is when you said the Everton connection and Carlo Ancelotti, because part of my brain goes, "What? Oh yeah, that was a thing that yes, of course, he was genuinely at Everton for a period of time." And he's even talking about Everton, like when he's playing Liverpool, he's like, "Well, you know, I was at Everton." It's like, "Oh yeah, you were." Even he remembers, like, "Oh yeah, you were at Everton for a bit." During your the most like glorious career of all time, you had that one period of time managing Seamus Coleman. So, I mean, fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Guillaume Balaguer is going, "Do you remember this?" And he's like, "No, I don't."
That would have been a lot funnier if they said to Carlo, "So obviously big rivalry." Yes, I managed Chelsea. It's like, no. Remember when you managed Everton? Really bracketed his bra. Yeah, but yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Are you getting me mixed up with Rafa Benitez?
Alex who? Iwobi? No, doesn't ring a bell.
Was it on X Factor? I forget.
He turns to Real Madrid and he's saying to Isco, going, "Right now, Alex Iwobi used to play like this, right? Is there any way you can..."
Yeah, that's good. That Danny Carvajal, you may have won 3 Champions Leagues in a row, but the way Seamus Coleman used to whip a ball, there's so much you could learn here. There's a catalogue of things I could teach you.
Now, Casemiro, have you ever seen Tom Davies, the way that he runs? Right? I want some. Roll those socks down a little bit, grow your hair, show a bit of calf. Come on.
It's that scene where he starts talking to them and he's looking at a board and he looks back and they've all gone. They're like, yeah, we're not staying for this. There's no chance I'm sitting through a whole team talk of this. Yeah, Militao's going, I'm not going to be compared to Michael Keane. I'm not going to sit here for that.
Who's Jordan Pickford?
That's the kid from This Is England. None of this is real. None of this is real.
They've drafted Asmir Begovic.
The problem is, so as we're realising, we could do this with every Everton player. We're literally just going to go through the whole squad. Oh dear, sorry, Everton. It's not about you.
When we first started the podcast back with Matt a couple of years ago, we had a thing as one of our episodes was the Everton retirement village, and it was literally just players would turn up at the back end of their careers to sign for Everton, and Dave Black, who does CM 97-98 content, he did an Everton retirement home save as well at the same time. We're just like, this is the meta, it's happening. And then of course Ancelotti walks through the door, and we're like, oh, hang on, this is a little bit too close to home, really.
Yeah, the only way Ancelotti going to Everton would have got better if he'd have bought in Seedorf, Cafu, Perlo, and yeah, they're in their 40s, but just you got a picture of the scene. I don't tell you what, Tom Davies looking around going, they're better than me. Like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, we've got
great.
Similar. Like we did like a monthly Discord challenge, and at the minute we're Burnley. So the choice is Burnley or PSV. Right, okay, and you can either play PSV like Burnley or try and be a bit PSV with Burnley, and Rich is doing it. Rich, we'll talk about Rich's way of doing it in a second. He's doing it properly, and then I put in our Discord little clips of Emmanuel Adebayor and Branislav Ivanovic in Burnley colours, and Rich is going, "You're playing this wrong, aren't you?" I was like, "Nope, I'm playing this the right way." I haven't specified whether on trial or permanent signings yet, but I like the air of mystique about it.
That's good. That's good.
It's Tony Jameson. They're permanent signings. There's no doubt about it. We said there's no right or wrong way. You know, there's generally speaking, there's the right way, there's the wrong way, and there's the new FMT way, which is essentially it's the wrong way, but with loads of extra steps, which is the way that I think we're both approaching it. You know.
Yeah, many people don't know it's the wrong way. They don't get far enough to know that it was wrong by the end. If they get there, they'll find out. But the chances of getting there are very slim. It's like
when you're on a road and you know you're on the wrong road, but you're committed, and you'll think there'll be a junction further down the line where you can get back onto it, and you're going, yeah. There's no buildings anymore now. Like the last sign I saw said Stonehenge, and I'm sure we were going north.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the car's not off road, is it? No, it's not. Well, good luck.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the FM equivalent of a misfunctioning sat nav. That's essentially where we are at the moment.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think what we need is we need a dad in charge to go, if you two don't stop this, we'll turn this save around and we'll go back home. Need one of those.
You do.
Need one of those. No, but narrative-driven content, that's the way to do it, isn't it, Ben? Narrative-driven?
It's worked for me. So, yeah, you should never point out a good link, but I will. That was phenomenal.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I've built my career on it, and now everyone's realised that tutorials and tactics are more interesting. So I definitely feel like we're coming towards the end of the life cycle of narrative-driven, maybe YouTube content. I think there's definitely a place for it, but I definitely think the format of it has to change quite radically if it's going to survive. It's super hard to start and like become quote unquote successful doing it, and now anyway because you kind of need that inbuilt audience that are going to believe in you as the person, and without that, like, you sort of just talk into the wind a little bit. It can be really, really difficult. But yeah, definitely I did it at a time when it was the perfect time. Like, I think Z would probably say the same with like how he came along and sort of hit a perfect storm with people picking up the game, a lot of new players wanting to find out how to do it. At the time that I did it, there wasn't really an entertainment side of Football Manager content. It was very much like everyone shares their serious saves on forums, and videos are for bigger losers than us. And I stepped up. I thought, yes, they are, and I will be that guy. I definitely saw a gap when I started of doing it and telling a story and using taking a page out of your book, Tony, and doing comedy in sort of short fits and starts, but making sure people had a reason to come back for every video and enjoyed it because they knew, regardless of what would be in the video, that it would be light entertainment to some description, and care less really about the results, and often hinder myself to know. So because then I would know, because obviously everyone knows like the go-to tactics, and I would very much intentionally avoid those. I'd avoid all the wonder kids, and I'd try and build something that was mine essentially. And people seem to latch on and enjoy it, and yeah, and now it's dying. But at least I was there when it was good, so you know, I peaked.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, because yourself and Jack were sort of the go-to guys when I was picking up content. To be honest, Loki Doki as well.
Yeah.
The journeyman. Again, that's sort of my style of playing, and similar to yourself. Like, you know, we've joked before. Like, trophies aren't really for me. I don't want to do the dusting around the cabinet. I'd rather not put it in. Like, I'd rather go. That's storage, right? Let's use that for kit, or like some more mugs, maybe, or something. There might be some paperwork we need to file later on. Like, let's not put trophies up there, you know. So I'm more about narrative structure as well, and I found that the Switch.
I will say, Tony, on that, you can see my background. I'm not sure if the listeners can quite picture it, but behind me are mugs and books. And it sort of tells the story of, forget trophies, I shall put a selection of mugs that I've created myself. Not even mugs I've bought or been gifted, just branded mugs by me.
Yeah.
And a selection of books, again, written by me. So it's just, yeah, it's quite depressing. They're not written by me. I'm not nearly as talented. But yeah. When you were saying that, you were being quite vague, and I felt very targeted, so I had to point it out.
He can absolutely see.
Your eyes were sort of going along, like, yeah, books and mugs. Actually, I can see there. Yeah.
Whereas, of course, Rich is adorned in his kit from when he played for AC Milan. So you know that you can tell the real winners in this conversation.
Ancelotti years. Yeah.
He was brought in.
He's a bit like Tom Davis.
I'll be honest, I found it because I tried and started with YouTube, and I remember having some conversations with the 5-star lads, and I was going, I don't think I'm cut for YouTube, and they're like, you should try Twitch, you'd be better at Twitch. And I found that structure of weekly failure is much easier to do over 3 or 4 hours than breaking it into a little 20-minute video for everyone going, this should really be 10 minutes of sadness rather than 20 minutes of sadness. And I'm like, yeah, but you need context, really. So yeah, I'm not.
Oh, that's my recent mistake. People don't care about the context. People want failure or success, and the context is really there's no context on TikTok, and that's where everyone is now. So it's like, well, we're gonna forget the context. I can make up the context and just tweet it anyway. So yeah, it's the way in which the media's consumed differently. But I always thought the same about you personally. I always thought you'd be far more at home in a live setting. Who knew? Compared to doing YouTube content.
I appreciate that. The same as Rich as well. Rich has obviously come from the same background as myself, comedy also. And Rich, were you ever tempted to go YouTube first, or were you just straight into Twitch?
Oh no, straight for Twitch for me. I think very similar to, you know, I had the benefit of sitting back and, you know, watching Tony in the earlier days.
Yeah, the benefit, hindrance.
Benefit, the enormous benefit. And, you know, I think it was quite clear that as soon as Tony made the switch from YouTube to Twitch, it just straight away, just comparing the same guy on the two platforms. I was like, one of these makes so much more sense than the other. You know, coming from a comedy background as well, it's the, you know, it's plays to all the strengths, because, you know, you've got the opportunity, you're interacting with the chat. It's very similar to, you know, emceeing or hosting a gig in a comedy club. So for me, Twitch just always seemed like the obvious choice. YouTube seemed like it would have been more of a, you know, it wouldn't have got the right kind of, would have been able to get the right content out, I suppose. Plus, you know, for me, it's another thing to learn, and you know, learning isn't my strong suit. So, you know, Twitch was quite easy. Turn a camera on and just talk to people for 2-3 hours, and you're probably fine.
Yeah, they're very. I think that's the thing people underestimate. They are very different skill sets. They look completely the same, but actually, like when you're doing either, you do have to change your approach completely. The amount of times I get people going, this isn't like the videos. It's like, no, this is actually much better. But you've been suffering with video content for some time. But I was the same. Like, I think that's something that gets I'd be surprised if you guys knew that I started doing Twitch first. I did YouTube in sort of 2007, 2008 when it was maybe baby videos and cats. But I was doing content like sort of like little comedic sketchy bits then took a bit of a break from doing it, didn't really fall in love with it, went through my own personal difficulties, and then came back to do streaming sort of off the back of watching Work the Space for about a year probably. Streamed first, did it for 6 months, learned like how to be a football manager creator essentially in that time, but always knew that if I took it to YouTube, I knew exactly where I was going with it. And I think that's something people struggle with. People come in blind almost and go, well, I'm going to just become a YouTuber, I'm going to become a Twitch streamer. I probably spent 3 years researching both before deciding I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that, and they're both going to work. Like, so I hear a lot of people go, "It's something to luck all the time." I kind of knew when I came into do YouTube, especially, that I was going to like be relatively successful at it, which is pretty rare and sounds really arrogant. But it was the way in which, because I'd looked at it, because I'd studied it, because I had an understanding previous, and probably most poignantly, because I'd failed at it once before. I hadn't become like a big YouTube success. I knew what it was like to have a channel that really struggled, and I knew why it had struggled. And I think that's sometimes the question a lot of creators have, not just in the FM space, but just generally, of why isn't this working? I think this is great. Why do people not think it's great? And being reflective and understanding why is a real challenge, especially in your early 20s when you're still trying to figure out who you are. And I was trying to balance the two of those things really. But yeah, as I say, they're very different skill sets, but equally rewarding. But I definitely think the live format, again, caters to both of you far better. And you probably enjoy it way more as a result, though. Like that's just as important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that, like I sort of feel as though I feel as though I should do more YouTube stuff. Like obviously with discoverability, and again, I suppose we clarify for some listeners or viewers, YouTube and Twitch will refer. I refer to YouTube and Twitch rather than, like as Ben just said, they're streaming. I guess is probably how we would refer to Twitch and YouTube. Of course, you can stream on YouTube as well. So content creation and videos on YouTube, and then streaming over on Twitch. For me, I was obviously coming into it as a 40-year-old man making YouTube videos as well, and that trying to target 35-year-old people as well and younger people. That's tricky because all I'd ever seen was, as I say, I'd seen your Thames saves. I'd seen parts of Prem for Jack with Tau Law, and obviously Loki Doki. So I was like, right, so of course in my naive head, I'm like, all I need to do is have a save that lasts for a long time, and I'll cut some highlights together, and I'll be able to talk through it. And that was me going, I'll put myself in the corner. That'll be great. And I don't think it was. I think it was quite bad, to be honest. Really, like my style wasn't great. There were certain bits of the save which I was like, oh, that's quite good, and I was going, all right. And then I got like a few decent views and stuff. But then, like, I didn't understand it. I remember when we spoke a while back that my initial joke was I didn't used to watch YouTube. I was more of a Vimeo guy. So talk about backing the wrong horse from the start. So I'm coming into this going like, oh, this would be like Vimeo. There's loads of like, really like cool artistic shooting videos and that. And I'm like, nope, put a face cam in the bottom and play a game. So I did that, and it wasn't really for me. And like SEO and stuff, I'm no good at. Like we talk about comedy. Like it's no longer just, you're not just writing and performing. You're creating your own website. You're creating your own posters, your own flyers, your own promo, your own, like, your everything. Like you've got to be the multi-skilled. And I was learning everything from the start with zero knowledge of any of that. And then along came people like Zealand and Clates, and even now we're regular like Omega Luke and is it True? The American guy who just making content so different to how I could ever comprehend how this looked. And I'm going, I'm going to go to Twitch where I can just sit and just chat for a couple of hours and hope that it's okay.
Yeah. But you get to be you in a live format so much more than when you have to, if you feel like you have to perform. And on YouTube, the big issue a lot of people have is, oh, I have to be like that. Or if I'm not like that, it won't work. And actually, it's the complete opposite of that. Like if you look at what Zealand's done or what Clates have done, or what RDF's a great example of this, right? They've just gone, I'm going to be me. And if people are going to, and then that's the gamble. It's like, well, are people into that style of what you're doing? And are you doing something that's different, something that people haven't really seen before, that people want to see? And that's where the element of luck comes in, because then people have to be driven towards you. Like the SEO kind of stuff is a factor, but anyone will tell you that, You can learn SEO for, I don't know, like 5 years, and the one video that goes viral, you'll have no idea why. And or the one video that goes into recommended boxes, like you won't actually be able to figure out why, or you won't have planned for that video to be the video. And very often it's the video you're like, that doesn't really represent me as a creator. Like my video that's got nearly 1 million views is an experiment video. I've done about 10 ever. And it's like, of the 2,500 videos, like people always go, oh yeah, I loved your experiment video. It's like, yeah, I did that 5 years ago and I've not done one since. But I really appreciate that was what brought you here. So finding the balance between, again, trying to, and it feeds back really into, I knew even at that point doing that video, like it's not the type of content I want to do, but is it going to bring new people in? Yeah, it is. And finding the balance between sort of what you're creatively happy with doing and then what you're morally happy with doing is sort of the game. And especially when it becomes a job, like that line becomes more and more blurred as you kind of have to conclude, oh, actually, there's a reason I'm doing that, and it's not just because it's a fun hobby of mine. And that's where it becomes difficult.
Yeah, I think that leads into a question that we had from one of our members of our Discord, actually, saying about when it comes to creating content, has there ever been a save that you've done purely for viewers that you've hated, but you thought this will generate good numbers? Or is there stuff that you do that you know that the viewers aren't necessarily so on board with? It's probably different for yourself, given like where you are in terms of the fact that now your job, you probably have to do a little bit more like that, rather than going, I'm going to do this save purely for me, and it might not be for everyone. Like the South American Journeyman or something, for example, like going, you're going to take a hit on the numbers, but you're going to enjoy it so much more. Like, has there been a moment like that, or?
I did this. I was born in Boston, and there was a period of time when I had a series called Central Park Rangers. I've got like this constant love for New York, which is a bit obsessive. And I came back from that place and thought, I want to still be connected to it. So I'll build a team in Central Park. I'll make a big save around it. I'll create this new league system in America where you can have relegation and promotion, so it's actually fun. And build something from that. And I did about 18 episodes, and my hard drive corrupted. I lost 1 terabyte's worth of stuff. And I was like, right, that months of planning is gone now. So then I was just sort of in the wilderness of that was my plan. I don't have a plan. So I spent about a month just being sad, probably, and then concluded, well, I was born in Boston. I've never done a save with Boston. I'll do a series called Boston Boys. It'll be me and the boys at Boston. And there's a player there already that I had a relationship with in other saves called Andy Tannoy. It was actually named Andy Thanodge, but there was a whole joke around the Tannoy, and it was, believe me, it's Slade. Please just believe me. To the point where my partner Ellie, we drove up to Boston, 2.5 hours, watched a game in the cold. I got some footage for an intro piece, came back, and that was the one save that I knew viewers weren't going to love it. It wasn't going to be something they went, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this. It was more of a case of, okay, I guess I'll give this a go. And it did okay. And it sort of evolved from, I think I went from Boston to Aston Villa to Arsenal, and it became a bit more of like an English journeyman, because I basically just got stuck with Boston in League Two. I was like, this ain't going anywhere, guys. We really should just move. But that was the one time I kind of compromised what a viewer would want, just to keep me happy in doing it as a job. There's often times when you do like the beta saves that you end up doing before the full game releases. They're not like my favorite thing to do. Some of them can be really fun and I can really enjoy them, but they're not things that are like passion projects. It's like you have to get a series out of 25 to 30 episodes that people are going to watch, they're going to be looking for, using a team that's interesting, and basically hope that sets you up for the year. So you have those moments as well. It's not quite the same. But I've never done a series purely because I think viewers will love this. Because as soon as you compromise on that, like you're doing it for not the wrong reasons, but you're doing it for reasons that you just deep down won't be able to stomach. Like, especially if it's a 200 episode series or a 100 episode series, that's 6 months of your life sometimes, and you don't want to be in that sort of bind. It can be really difficult.
Yeah, Rich, what's your thought process with your saves?
No, I completely agree. You know, I had when I kind of first started streaming. So this year I was super late in the cycle in terms of I think just due to personal commitments, I couldn't regularly stream until probably 2-3 months ago. And when I started streaming, did a tier 10, local, the most local club I could find to me. Started in tier 10, got about 3 streams into it, and I just wasn't feeling it. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong, it's comparatively compared to the kind of numbers that yourselves are going to be doing, Ben especially, it's not like it was, seeing a massive drop off in terms of numbers I'd be expecting for streaming anyway. But it just didn't feel, it wasn't enjoyable. I wasn't feeling it. So that just, I think the best thing to do, rather than just to plug on and smash through it, because there's no point. If you're creating content you don't enjoy creating, people can tell, and nobody's going to want to tune in and watch somebody streaming who's quite clearly not enjoying what they're doing. So that was quite a quick decision just to abandon that and move on to something I've actually wanted to do, which is kind of where I still am now. Like I said, there's no point in doing something that you don't want to do, because regardless of what you think your audience are going to think and the numbers you're going to be pulling, if you're not enjoying it, you're not enjoying what you're doing. And getting to create stuff, getting to create content online is it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. It's such a fantastic creative outlet, and if you're not enjoying yourself, then there's not really any point to doing it if you're going to force it.
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of in a similar situation with ours as well. Obviously, we started the beta cycle this year with Sampdoria, and I was all for Sampdoria. I was like, I love Serie A. Serie A hates me. It absolutely hates me. And so we got sacked in the beta. So me and Omega Luke had a bit of a race to see who could get sacked the most. I think we're still tied at two apiece at the minute. Then we jumped into, we thought we'd do like an Indonesian build a nation, because of course the game sold on a build a nation thing. I was like, this will be interesting, this will be fun. People bought into it, we had a great time. No success, obviously, because I'm managing. We then finally managed to get a win, won the league, won the title, won the Confeds Cup, moved on to make it a journeyman. And at that point, there was just no point to the save. And we just kept going live and going, all right, we've won the league in Uruguay, and then we've been relegated in Uruguay, and oh, let's go Argentina, and now we're here, and it's fun and it's fine, but it's just like, there's no end goal here. It's like, and I remember at the start of the cycle, we were speaking about end goals, like what's your point? Because again, I'm very open. The way I play, of course, is journeyman, and I think you remember saying to me, going, what's the end point of a journeyman? And I was like, I don't know. Really, I need to get out close, don't I? And, death, the slow release of death, I think, is what I'm hoping for.
Why are you buying new games? You're a journeyman. This is the journey. Yeah, it's funny how the difficulty that you find with that though is that it's what you're. It's when the conversation of like what a viewer wants compared to what you want comes in, and it's when it's not working and they don't know yet, and it's like so I've had that a few times on YouTube. It's like. Or even on Twitch as well, it's like, I need to kill this and do it in a way where they don't feel stupid for still watching it. And that is like the real overarching problem of saying, because I know when I end something, I had a similar situation with Glory Hunter recently where it was my big YouTube save and I moved it to Twitch because I knew that even if they were enjoying it in that moment, in 30 episodes, they wouldn't be. And in 50 episodes, they wouldn't be. And while that does affect my bottom line, I'm also trying to make something that the most amount of people could enjoy at the same time. So we're all in on the same joke, essentially, or all in the same story. But yeah, figuring that out and then having to find a way to tell your audience, oh, by the way, you should not have committed to this because I've made a mistake.
I've spent the last month dissecting this, and you lot are idiots, really.
Yeah, but that's the inner fear that you go through that really affects my mental health. It's like I don't want people to feel like they've been conned by me. I really am doing something that I'm passionate about, and it's funny, like you said, I'm really enjoying going to Sampdoria. I have that moment. It's like I'm loving this, and people go, "I can tell you're not enjoying this," and I'm reading that comment going, "You're not enjoying this, are you? Like you're telling me I'm not enjoying it, but that's because you're not enjoying it. I actually have it. Doesn't matter how many times I've sat at the start of videos and gone." Guys, listen, I promise you, and it sounds so insincere when I'm then having to go, I promise you I'm enjoying it. They're going, quite clearly isn't enjoying it. Wouldn't have to say if he was enjoying it. It's like, no, I'm only saying it because you said you just go back and forth, this endless cycle of, right, at that point, everyone goes, well, no one's enjoying this. It's like, yeah, because you obviously, well, whatever, I'll leave it then, I'll leave it. Next save, we'll go to Germany.
Listen, Dave 74737, stop projecting on me. This is ridiculous.
That's it, right? When you respond to one comment and they go, it's just one guy. It's like, yeah, 40% of you have stopped watching. The other guys have gone. He's the last one who's prepared to tell me. It's like, this is very difficult because, so you see trends and you see patterns, and responding to those is obviously crucial. But yeah, when you spot it before, like the algorithm does, even if it's going quite well, oh man, that can be torture. It could be absolutely horrible.
Yeah, so we've switched things up at the minute. We've taken a little bit of inspiration from what you've done. You mentioned Glory Hunter there. Obviously, we're doing the opposite. because winning's not really our thing, to be honest. So we've gone with something called the Story Hunter, where we're creating a bunch of achievements based on narrative settings.
That's good. Again, so, the way to, as we discussed, the way to go in 2022. So
yeah, exactly.
But on Twitch, there's so much more room to do that on Twitch because people can be so much more receptive instantly, and you'll know instantly. That makes things, and they can be way more involved as well. So that in that sense, doing it on Twitch is like, again, different skill sets, and that applies to the content you're giving people at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find? Again, I've sort of found myself when I did bits of YouTube stuff to go back to Twitch streaming, having to wear essentially a different hat or a different face. Like you could hide a bit. You mentioned like a little bit about mental health, and we talk a lot about that on the podcast. Like you can sort of, and again, coming from a stand-up perspective, again, the doctor stage cures everything. Doctor stage makes you feel better. Like you can feel super low and super rubbish, but you'll be like, right, let me get under those lights, get that microphone in my hand. 20 minutes later, I feel like an absolute king. I'll cry on the way home. It'll be fine, right? Like YouTube makes you do that. You can do it because you can edit it down and you can be that happy 20-minute person. But you can't hide how you feel for 4 hours, 3 hours on a stream. Yeah. So
no, I've definitely got grumpier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like have you? Is it more? Are you more Ben? Because I feel I'm more Tony on stream. I think Rich would probably agree.
Yeah, funny enough, actually, Doctor Stage was one of my rejected names. But yeah, it's funny. I people ask this all the time. Again, I have that comment sometimes if someone comes in and goes, "You're not like this in the videos." It's like, yeah, because I'm putting on. Like it's like again, it's that the idea it just goes under the light entertainment section. It doesn't go into Piers Morgan's life stories. You know, it's depressing enough that he's on it. Like, never mind me being next to him. So I try and avoid giving too much of myself away in YouTube because it's there forever, right? With live streams, there is always this element of they might forget. Whereas on YouTube, you can't ever forget. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be this element of it. So there's definitely things like. People on Twitch will always say I know him far better than the YouTube audience know him because one, I'm prepared to give it up a little bit, and again, being able to reply instantly to someone something says, whether that be positive or negative, like, or if it's just like a neutral opinion, being able to have that instant right of reply is the most powerful tool. You'll know this as comedians. It's the most powerful tool. Is I've got the microphone here. Like, it doesn't matter how. At some point, you're going to get kicked out of this venue, or I'm going to ban you from my chat, and I win. So you do hold the keys a little bit. So as much as even on YouTube, right, there's this idea that you put together the video, you showcase that personality that you are. I also go into a Twitch stream knowing that if it goes wrong or it goes awry or it goes in the direction I don't want it to, I'm still in control of that. So I'm me under an environment that I've created. So it's not the true me, because the true me lives in the real world and has to go outside and go to the range and go to Asda or whatever. Whereas that version of me will always be an online version of me. But those that have met me and for those that would listen to this podcast now, like, this is still me. This is still, but at the same time, I'm not, I'll say this, my partner would definitely disagree, I'm not cracking jokes every other sentence when I'm doing, like when I'm at dinner and she's going, can we just watch BBC News? It's like, yeah, but knock. She's not loving that nearly as much. So but it's knowing when to have those. But if every stream was let's have a real deep conversation about young man's mental health, like at some point they're going, not really here for that. And at the same time, if every single stream is let's do some serious Football Manager or let's just dick about, you have the keeping it varied. As much as this is what I'm thinking about it, like as much as that applies to stream, that's just life, isn't it? Like, how boring would life be if you did everything one way? But Twitch definitely gives you a little bit more freedom to just be you. And but you'll both know, like, it's not totally you. It's you under the parameters that you've set, or that you're comfortable with. So, and that's the important thing to remember. This is framed very, like, my camera is framed for a very specific reason. What's going on down here is not pretty. Like, I'm very much giving you the best. If this is the best bit, you don't want to imagine what's going on elsewhere. Getting a standing desk.
For Patreon, we only show the bottom bit, so it's just
that's where I'm going wrong. Right? Okay, noted. Not enough cameras in this room. Okay, understood. Yeah,
I mean, like, Rich, how have you found it? Because you obviously you're sort of like relatively new on the streaming, and also compared to me personally, relatively new with comedy. Like how long did it take you to find we always refer to it as finding your voice. Like, I guess the same a bit in creation. Like, how long did it take you to find your voice? And we'll get to Ben in a sec, because I know you were, we wanted to be a comedian as well at some point, so we'll maybe touch upon that a little bit. But yeah, Rich, how long did you find it? And did you feel as though you went through like sort of various guises? I mean, I'll explain sort of what I mean by that in a second, but
not so much various guises. I think, as Ben quite eloquently put it, it's presenting the version of yourself that you're comfortable with presenting under the parameters that you can put together. My big thing with anything that I've ever done creatively, be it streaming, be it comedy, and before I was involved in comedy, I was involved in music for a fair few years. My remit for everything I've ever done is, would I enjoy this if I was watching it? If I was seeing this person producing this content, playing that song, telling that joke, would I enjoy it? Because if I wouldn't, then there's no point. So based around that, I've always kind of wanted to put out, the style in which I'll present things, the style in which I host when I'm streaming or when I'm gigging. It's always I want to do what I think people would enjoy seeing me do. That also I feel comfortable doing, like we were talking about earlier, creating or doing something that you don't feel comfortable doing. People are obviously going to be able to tell that, I think similar to Tony in terms of the comedy that I do. I'm more of a storytelling comedian. I'm not like a one-liner. I'm not jokes. That's not for me, because I've just not got the mind to write that kind of material. If I tried to do that at a gig, I would absolutely die on my backside. And there's no two ways around it, because that's not what I feel natural doing in that kind of environment. Same with Twitch. I, speak to people the way I feel comfortable speaking to people. I kind of interact with my chat in the way that I think, I would want to see somebody interacting with their chat and producing the content that I put out there. It's the content that I would like to see. It's hosted in the way that I would like to see somebody hosting. And to be fair, I think because I spent quite a lot of time thinking about doing it before I started doing it, because again, that's part of my process. I wouldn't necessarily say it's research, but it's more of, it takes the place of kind of, giving press conferences in the car on the way to work. It's sitting there thinking, right, if I was going to do this in this environment, what's the best way for me to approach it? How do I do it? And spending enough time kind of taking that into consideration as I did. And then I was fortunate enough to have, really, really helpful support network through just the FM community in general, through Tony especially, was there to offer, to critique, to help, to give advice. I was quite fortunate in as much as what I was doing and what I was portraying on camera was what I thought, it was what I was aiming to do. What I was producing was close enough to what I wanted to do to not have to worry dramatically. If I'd got 10 streams in and then the feedback had been, yeah, this isn't good. Maybe we need to start thinking about some changes. That would have been more concerning, because I think at that point I'd convinced myself that what I was doing was probably the building blocks of the right thing. Same with comedy. There's nobody ever who gets up to an open mic for the first time and says, right, I've got the best 5 minutes of material you're ever going to hear. They never have the best 5 minutes of material you're ever going to hear. They might have one or two good jokes in there. I'm fully aware that's the same with streaming. I'm never expecting anybody to turn around and say, that was incredible. Like, you've only been going for a couple of months and that was wonderful. Never expecting that. I know it's never going to be the finished article, but I like to think that what it is that I'm doing, I'm at the stage now where I'm comfortable in knowing that I'm doing it right, and it also feels natural, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, you touched upon there with comedy, like Ben. I mean, like you've said before that you're a big comedy fan. Like, you used to always go watch Chortle and stuff when you were a little bit younger. Yeah. Like, do you ever regret not giving it a go, or is it something that's bypassed? Is it something you'll potentially try in the future, or?
It's funny, isn't it? I think anyone that hears me talk about this type of thing, again, put myself in an environment I'm comfortable with, would think, its self-confidence must be through the roof. It's like, I know my limits. Like, I'd love to have done it in my early 20s. Like, I'd have loved to give it a go. I went through, I don't know how deep we're supposed to go really, but I went through a good sort of the best part of a decade of depression. And that's not an environment that I felt comfortable putting myself in front of other people to then, I wasn't nearly the finished article of myself. I wasn't even a good version of me. I was just like an existing version of me, which wasn't great. So it's something I'd love to have the confidence to do. And there's definitely moments in streams where I think, I wonder how different what I'm doing right now is to doing 5 minutes on a Saturday night somewhere and seeing an audience react. And what will be really interesting is that with the showdown stuff, like the plan is to take that live at some point, and that will put me in those positions, and that might be the catalyst to go, actually, do you know what, I feel pretty comfortable here. And my dad, it's interesting, my dad, as much as I've always been into comedy, like my dad would always take me to go and see, well, locally in Great Yarmouth there's a few theatres locally, and then in Norwich has got like the Playhouse and the Theatre Royal. We'd go to see lots of different acts, from the Grumbleweeds to Cannonball to Joe Pasquale to Jimmy Carr to Sean Walsh and Josh Widdicombe did a set. Like Tim Vine came many times. Right? There's a whole different types of comedians as well. It wasn't a case of like one type comedian is what I like to see. There's loads. And again, of course, watching so many on TV. There's a guy that did this Football Manager thing once that I was really into. So there's a whole
Bridges.
Jason Manford's Man City stuff is top notch. But anyway, leave it there. So yeah, there's always that little part of me that thinks I could maybe one day move towards it. I think one of my big fears, and it potentially is the type of comedians I'm most into, is I don't think I'm smart enough to do the sort of comedy that I most enjoy. So my favorite comedian of the last sort of 5 years is probably Bo Burnham, who I just think is a genius. Like in terms of the way he puts things together, and also works within, again, like he sets his parameters quite wide, but hits so many different metrics of what it is to be a comedian, as well as to be a performer, as an entertainer, as to be a musician, and to be able to do it to the level that he does it is ridiculous. It's a good job for him that Netflix agree, because man, I bet he's making some mad money from that. But equally, it's not just about the performing side for him or the money side for him. And I'd like to put myself in a similar bracket, in that, like, I'm always questioning the morals of like what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And obviously when you do comedy, it's difficult to be vulnerable. You're not supposed to be a vulnerable comedian. I don't think that's never been the way like people find success with that. There has to be that element of, again, that self-confidence. Like I feel like when you have to go into a room and like hope that people go, I would pay for this, even if they're not paying for it almost. And when you're streaming, there's and so why I find them so different, and why I'm so much more comfortable doing this, is that they're entering. I'm not the hired entertainment. I'm the landlord. Like, so everyone's coming to my pub and talking to me about it, and I'm not the hired entertainment in that sense. And there isn't, and equally, because it's my pub, my rules, I'm not hiring anyone. I'm also the entertainment. Like I'm still the person behind the bar cracking jokes who knows everybody's name when they come in, and then one person comes in and starts a fight and they get banned. So it's to me, I equate it more similar to that. And if that ever changes for me, and I end up thinking, like, because I don't know how long I'll do this for, right? I don't know how long I'll just be making videos or content around Football Manager. I'm also, because I've watched Chortle for like years, not just Chortle again. I think I've watched the Grumbleweeds and Cannonball. Do you know what I mean? I've been around. I've been watching comedy for some time. I know how dangerous and how ruthless that industry can be, and even not without being in it, I understand like the pitfalls of it and the struggles and it not being super easy. And I don't know if I want to do it. That for me, because I'm almost too acutely aware of it, I feel like it puts me off, and because I'm too scared. If I'm just being honest about it, so. To answer your really simple question of, would you ever give comedy a go? No, I'm too scared. It's actually the answer. But for all the reasons, again, context. I gave far too much context. Sorry, TikTok. You won't have enjoyed that. But yeah, when you cut this up for TikTok, you could just say, comedy? No, I'm too scared. And then people will never know. They will make up the middle context. So it's fine. You know what?
What kind of comedy do you watch, Ben? Grumbleweeds, Tumbleweeds. Okay, good.
Grumbleweeds. Yeah. I know when I say that, you're probably just about old enough to know who the Grumbleweeds are. But if you don't, if people listening, I'm going to say 98% of people do not know who the Grumbleweeds are. So
I would say 98% of our audience probably do, and they're sitting there going, "He saw the Grumbleweeds. Wow, okay. He's lucky, isn't he?"
I know. Wow. Look at who am I? I've seen David Copperfield. Not that one. Like that's the level of entertainers. Like honestly, the list of Great Yarmouth like Tory comedians that I've seen, no 13-year-old should have been subjected. But it's my dad's fault. My dad used to work in the entertainment Well, he's always he worked in tourism his whole life. He's just retired actually, but he's worked in tourism his whole life. He worked in Skegness, and you'll know the theatre more than me probably. I can't remember what the theatre's called, but he had like Norman Wisdom and would like compare for Norman Wisdom and things like this. Like he before sort of going into comedy, going into tourism, and that becoming like he was head of tourism for Great Yarmouth for 25, 30 years. He's definitely put that into me and told me like this is a way you could perform. He's always done it as like a side gig that have like different festivals locally, and he would sometimes compare those festivals or be asked to do events like locally in like Norfolk or whatever. So yeah, I think it's funny, and this is going to be awful, and I really hope he doesn't listen because this is going to sound horrendous. But the moment where I feel like I can probably have the confidence to do it is when I speak at his funeral. And I know that sounds awful, but there'll be that expectation. There'll be that expectation on me to say, okay, you have to speak now. And he would control every room. And it's funny, as he gets older, and then he's got Parkinson's, and it's like he's becoming less vocal in every room. It's like it's early onset that's progressing. Parkinson's, right? It's one of them. But as he goes through stages of that, like I feel myself becoming him in the room, and suddenly, like as an early 30s, it's like, oh, okay, I see. Like that button is being slowly passed. I don't know if I'm taking it from him or if he's passing it, but there's definitely a shift in our family environments, and that will probably, I don't know if that will give me confidence or give me the idea of actually you'll regret not doing this. So maybe that'll be the thing that like drives it. Again, very morbid to suggest that'll be the turning point for me, but yes, I've thought that for a while. It's strange.
Yeah, no, I get that, and then and I'm going to say as well, there's just to flip it on its head slightly, because obviously, like that's a really, really poignant point. You've got an additional pressure as well if you were to do it now, of course, right? In that a lot of people know you now, like whereas if you start comedy, when I started comedy, I was 28, I think, when I started comedy. So again, quite late to the game. 40 when I started streaming, quite late to the game. Like nobody knew who I was, right? But then I got it a little bit, and only a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say,
when I came to YouTube and Twitch,
right.
I got people.
Say a little bit in this scene. That's a lot.
Yeah,
you say a little bit in this scene. It's a lot, like because people knew you for that. So it was when I was like, go on, let's see what you got, funny man. Let's see what.
Exactly. Like so, you instantly got
I definitely did.
Okay, people will turn up going, why is he in the dark? Like this idiot's never got any lines. Like, what's he doing? Like so you don't get that like initial like, oh, I'm here. They go, where are you? Where are you? You're in the corner somewhere. Eh? Why is your internet shit? Like, come on, you've been doing comedy. You must have better than dial-up internet. Whereas, like, I almost kind of feel like I wish I'd come in with nobody, but at the same time, I'm super glad that there was people there from the start. Whereas if you go to try and do comedy now, if you tweet out, I'm going to do my first open mic night, you know that people will find that and your venue's full, and you get a false sense of how that's going to go.
Yeah, and no respect from other comedians.
Who needs respect for comedians? You know?
Yeah,
awful.
I guess it depends how much the tickets are. But it's funny, isn't it? Because there would be that expectation, and I think there's lots of people. It's funny. It's definitely happened more the other way around, right? Where people who are used to live environments, doing all sorts of different things, have come to YouTube and online content and gone, "This is going to be a doddle." And you're probably so right in that, because there's that feeling of, "Well, go on then, let's see how good you really are." And they come along and do it. And then there's a few that stand out and smash it out of the park, and you're like, you should not be doing it as well as that. Like, you should be able to pick it up so easily. But the other way. Like, it's only now, I would say, in 2020 to 21, 22, where online presenters and people that have been doing content online are now finally getting recognition from massive like conglomerate brands and things like this that are going, actually, do you know what? Like, we should be investing in that in the future of presenting with these audiences that are pre-built, because not only do they bring their talents for presenting, they've got 5 million followers, or they've got 500,000 followers, and that now is becoming. And so then you've got this middle ground of people that have gone, I want to be a presenter, or I want to be a comedian, or I want to be a streamer, that are just in the center, who are thinking, but I've worked so hard to be this, or radio presenters, right? That I've worked so hard to be this, and then just other gigs get given to people that have got what pays the bills for more people, like in the industry. It must be so difficult and so soul crushing for people that have worked so hard to get to a point knowing they're being beaten by people that were just there first, and that can be, I imagine that can be quite demoralizing.
I guess it can be, but I guess it's also sort of comes into something that Rich and I were talking about just before we went live. Like we obviously had to adapt because our industry struggled during the pandemic. For our industry, collapsed during the pandemic. You know, you can't really go and do a gig if you're not allowed out the house. So we had to look for something else. Obviously, you're working indoors, you're streaming, you're creating YouTube content. Like you must have like found that was the massive growth time for you, because of course we all turned up as well and we're like, let's come on the computers, computer comedy, computer internet, keep saying words until we know what the words mean. Like that sort of thing happens. So was it a sort of bit of a, I don't know, like, was it like a positive and a negative at the same time for you there? Or are you going like, all right, we're going to blow up because people can't go anywhere, so we have to consume content? Or was it also, right now I've got to adapt as well because there's a whole bunch of new people coming in to try and take the territories, if we use territory as the term?
Yeah, shout out to Zealand. But it was interesting. It was super interesting. Like, there's certain people that turn up or come along, and he's kind of one of these that had been like, he worked for ESPN, he'd done bits for them, he'd done commentating, he'd done it for a decade, right? He's 24, 25, but he'd literally been doing it since 14 at high school, commentating over college or like high school basketball matches, whatever. Like he committed his whole life to it. So when he brought that skill set over, and also he'd grown up with the internet and he'd grown up watching different types of creators and thought, actually, do you know what, I wonder. But even he'd had that failure, right? He'd had what it was like Big Daddy Ham. He had like some other account that was never successful, partially because of the name. He knows that now. But the fact that he was able to turn that disappointment and take the things he learned from being a failure in sort of failure in quotation marks, it was a failure that led to the success he's having now. So was it a failure? I guess that's the question. So there was absolutely that pressure, but there was also that, like, I felt a sort of a bit of a custodian for Football Manager content. It was like, there's going to be people that are going to turn up here that I need to fast track and make sure they are given basically a clear run, because I know, like, and it sounds super vindictive to say, if I didn't want Zealand to be a success on YouTube, it would have been really easy for me to just like turn a shoulder and talk his content down and be horrible about it and say it's not good. I had the complete opposite like conversation with him. I had some really good conversations with him quite early on, actually, about how he's doing what someone should have done 5 years ago, and I've been waiting for him, basically. And so it wasn't a case of, oh, there's a rival. It was the sort of, yeah, I should probably have done that, but also it was like, finally we've got someone who can like lead this in a way that's different to me and grow at exponential speeds, and like so that was worth it for me personally. It was how conflicting can it be? I'm having the best financial year of my life, and people are dying, and people are jobless, and people are really, really struggling, and they come to my stream and I'm dancing around and having a lovely time and go, thanks for the gifted subs, right? And it's just like, but I'm also getting Els Nan shopping for every week because she can't leave the house. So like, so the contrast of having to go through that, and I've been around long enough. This was the advantage. I don't know if it's just my age, because me at 31 is different to someone starting at 24, right? There's mentally there's a big difference there. I knew it wouldn't last forever. I knew it wasn't going to be the sort of thing that, oh, I'm always going to have this amount of viewers, I'm always going to make this amount of money. But even then, I'm thinking, but I've got to set up myself to make it possible. So you're trying to just take every advantage that is given at the time that is given. Like, you'd be stupid not to, really, especially when it's your career. But there was definitely a drop off afterwards. Like it's when half the people leave because they're at work again. It's like, oh man, is that me, or is that just because you've got your laugh back?
People would rather go back to the pub than watch me.
Yeah. Other landlords, but they're called employees.
Come on, lads.
Yeah, so that was tough as well. And again, you're waiting, then you're just waiting for the next game cycle, and then obviously the pandemic went on for so long. Like, people realized, oh, there's other sorts of content, or I can do my own content, and then the FM space as a result grew massively. Football Managers did really well to basically put themselves on everyone's computer for a period of time, and that was obviously a huge benefit again to me, Zealand, and a few of the other guys. And but short-term benefit for something that you're trying to make long-term is only a little bit useful. It doesn't solve every problem. It just again, it accelerates to a point, but then I don't know how to explain it, but then like you're going at 30 the whole time, someone presses your NOS button in a Fast 5 film, suddenly you're going at 90, but that NOS will run out. So then you're suddenly just back at at the same speed you were going at, and that so to transition to being like a mid-sized creator to being a big creator back to a mid-sized creator, but with the mindset of a big creator is like that's the bit that is difficult because you're having to regress a little bit, and that's something, especially on online content, you're not supposed to do. Like the numbers aren't supposed to go down. It's supposed to be the case of they always go up until they just slowly come down. Whereas we sort of had this up it goes, down it comes, up it goes again very slowly, and back on the path we were on before. And that was the big challenge.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say because that was obviously the moment we turned like Rich. Were you were sort of like more the second wave? Would you say for jumping in or?
Yeah, definitely kind of second wave. It was it's end of this month it's going to be my 1 year anniversary on Twitch. So yeah, end of May I got in. So it wasn't right at the beginning. But no, I mean, to be fair, there's a couple of really interesting points that you just raised there, Ben. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, you say on the one hand, you're looking at kind of, a period of your own success at a time where, you've got a country and almost a world full of people who are struggling and going through some difficult things. I think on the absolute flip side of that coin, I think the service that people like yourselves were providing was invaluable. Because if it wasn't for consistent online content from guys like yourself, and I've said this publicly before, from this podcast, when Matt was still sat in this chair, just such an invaluable service because of the communities it created, the friendships it created through people, and it's the consistency of having something positive there for people to watch and look forward to. I don't think you can put a price on that. That's quite incredible. So, that's. If you're going to be looking at it in that context, that's definitely the way that's what I would take from it. You in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a time of massive uncertainty and hardship for a lot of people, there were people like yourself making enjoyable content that people were happy to tune into for 2-3 hours a day, just to take their mind off everything else that's going on in the world. And, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And also, I'd highly dispute what you were saying about, you necessarily being ready for the comedy world, because you said you could have just dropped the shoulder on Z and binned him off, and I think you'd fit beautifully into the comedy industry if that's the you've got that nailed down, my man. Yeah, so absolutely fine.
That would have been the absolute easy sell, wouldn't it?
There's definitely a pressure that came with that, and the bit I didn't mention was that my fiance was pregnant. We found out she was pregnant in the January, and then that was the March was locked down. So not only am I earning money, she's downstairs working like her NHS job on a computer they've given her, and hating every minute of it because it's not her environment. And at the same time, I'm thinking she's safely indoors, and the amount of car crashes she can get into with her like is very minimal right now. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the big shop. Like nothing can go wrong here. We're fine. So selfishly, I'm like, this is perfect. I'm earning more money than before. The partner's downstairs looking at it, but like the struggles that are going on behind the scenes and the pressures to perform for people who I've been around long enough. I knew people needed it. There are people that have been watching me for years on YouTube that came over and were like, oh, this is great. I call it like there's people that have been subscribed now for a couple of years that are like lockdown babies. They're still like, they've been subscribed for 25 months or whatever it is. And look at those people and I thought, you were new. Like as much as you've been subscribed for 2 years, you were new at that point. And it's really easy to pinpoint those people. But yeah, it was definitely overwhelming to do at the same time, because getting on knowing that, okay, how many people need this today? And people would be sharing stories of people would come in every day and go, oh, I've just lost someone. It's like, fucking, you're here watching me like manage Norwich or whatever. It's like, blimey. Like, I guess that those little bits of pressure that get applied are nice, because like I'm someone that I want that. I want to be put under the pressure to be better. So I've got no issue with that. But you would sit there at night and think, is this what I should be doing in this moment? Like, I don't know what else I should be doing, but I think this is right. But again, there's that guilt almost that's set in as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you say, it is absolutely like a service, that people needed something to reach out to, and what we noticed as well, of course, was, as we say there, the influx of people giving it a go as well and taking up creation themselves and going, you know what, yeah, this is my chance. Like people looking at the pandemic, again, for want of a slightly better phrase, looking at the opportunities the pandemic created. Like they talk about the great resignation, I think, in the States, don't they, about people looking at their jobs and going, I don't like this. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try my hand at something new. Like, And I guess the pandemic gave people that opportunity. So they jumped on a computer, they started streaming, they started creating content, they started creating podcasts, and looking at the amount of new creators that came around was fantastic. And also to see diversity is incredible. Like, to get away from the initial standpoint of bearded white guys with glasses, which we all are, like, sorry, podcast listeners going like, oh, that's not quite how I envisaged you, Tony. Like, right? Okay. We've now seen this new generation of creators who come from all different backgrounds, and it's so great to see. And where do you see that progressing? How can we generate more varied creators?
We had a conversation, the listeners won't know this, but we had a conversation the other night where we touched on this a little bit. And it's interesting because I think there's only so much we as a community can do to drive that forward and to make that, we talked about it. You can only make it a safe space. Our job is to make sure that we facilitate anyone that comes in to feel comfortable and to enjoy and ultimately take something out of this, because that's what you want everyone to do, whether they be a viewer or someone who's creating content. You want someone to be able to walk away and go, do you know what, that was worth it, whatever it was. You want them to feel like that. In terms of creating a more diverse community, there's only so much people that are already within it that can do. So to me, it falls on Football Manager. It falls on them to make outreaches to do that. I think the implementation of the women's game is going to be huge for that. Like, I think we're going to see a whole new type of creator.
Yeah.
Look at the game from completely different angles that we've never seen before. I hope we see far more female players. Whether it happens or not, it's really difficult to predict. I'm confident in Football Manager that they don't do things by halves. It won't be a half-assed release of a female version of FM. It'll be as if they release it as if they were having to bring out like the Championship and below, or the Premier League, whatever it would be. Like they're going to give it everything to hopefully make it succeed. It's a difficult task for them. I don't ultimately, like, if we talk honestly about it, I don't know how much of a priority it is for them to make the community more diverse, but I think it's part of what they can do without trying, almost. Again, I don't know what sort of responsibility they take for it. My responsibility as one of the leaders in the community, which I think people would probably say is about fair, is to not gatekeep, but make sure that, again, that environment is always there for anyone to feel like they can do this or be a part of this. And that's my responsibility. Obviously, when I'm very much in charge of the showdowns, if we can do things within that to encourage others, or it by proxy encourages others, then great. There's lots of conversations had around that as well, in that we should be including people. But again, we could go on for 3 hours, or we did the other night. We go on for 3 hours talking about that. Whether I take on responsibility for that, what I will say is it's not something I'm ignoring and not thinking about. Something I'm having conversations with people about a lot. Whether that be Football Manager, whether that be other content creators, whether that be viewers. If there's more that can be done, I am there to help do it. But I don't know if I'm the guy, or if the community are ready, really, to make sure that more people from different diverse backgrounds take part and enjoy what we all enjoy right now.
Yeah, Rich.
No, I think that's a fair comment. So I think you've touched on some really, really good points there. I think that, as a community, people like yourselves, as you quite rightly say, is kind of like people at the forefront of the community, leads the community. It's about doing everything that can be done to make sure that we're creating an environment that people feel safe to come into. And if you look at, some of my favorite creators that, that they've been on the platform similar amounts of time to me, people like, friend of the podcast, Alice, FM Girl, like, she creates wonderful content, absolutely spectacular. Like RDF is one of my favorite people. It's about creating an environment where, you're basically, like you said, you're non-bearded white guys in their mid-30s, wonderful as they may be to look at in a little camera in the corner of your screen. Just disgustingly handsome, each and every one of us. But it's about creating that environment, where predominantly you could say the stereotype would be, this is these are the people you'd expect to be seeing in this environment, and it's about having, encouraging that diversity in people that are coming into the community, being made to feel welcome. I mean, I can only speak from my personal experience, and I know it's not based on a huge amount in terms of diversity, being, a bearded white man. But the way that people have welcomed me in, and I've been made to feel like part of it super early doors, has been wonderful. And I think that courtesy is extended to everybody I've met so far, everybody who's been streaming similar amount of time to me, nothing but positive things to say. So in that respect, I think it's doing a wonderful job. I think you are right. I think that, moving forwards, the responsibility does have to fall onto like FM, onto people at SI. But, I think the implementation of the women's game is going to be huge. I think it's going to be huge for, the prominence, the rising creators that we're going to see, people who may be tempted to pick up the game that wouldn't have done before because, it may not speak to them. If you look at the popularity and the rise in numbers at games of women's football over the last, 5-6 years, I think it's only natural that you would expect there to be a change in, a percentage of the people, the base level of people who are playing the game. And therefore, because I think SI realised the importance and the number of people who stream the game, I think hopefully that's something that they'll take into consideration moving forwards on how they can improve diversity within the community. So I think the future is, I think it looks positive from everything that's being done on this end within the community. I think it's the building blocks are there for it to be quite smooth and to be saying something good something good's going to come of this, I think, moving forwards for sure.
The one thing I'd say, and it's the thing that's hardest to comprehend at the time, is that it doesn't happen for these people overnight. Like if the communities are going to build and expand and become more diverse, it doesn't, like FM can't just do a blog post one day and Miles goes, we welcome everybody. Like that's not how it's going to work. Like it's going to have to work over a period of time. So when people like RDF appear on the scene and are shining lights in what we do in terms of our community now, he needs time to build up him. Like he needs to figure out what he is for a long enough period of time that more people look at him and go, do you know what, I can do what he does. I want to be like what he's doing. And so that's really important as well. It won't happen over the course of a year or 2 years. We talked quite a lot about like my longevity in this. There's a reason for it. Like it takes that amount of time to be asked to be on a podcast like this. You do need to have you do need to have a back catalogue of experience to be able to handle every little intricate moment that happens when you become a part of this world. And that's not something that's going to happen straight away. And don't get me wrong, there are going to be people within the community that don't take kindly to it. Unfortunately, those people can fuck off. And we don't have to deal with those people, and we don't have to and they don't represent the vast majority of the community. So I'm confident in that new people coming in won't be the people to stand out. It'll be those that aren't on board with those people that will stand out, and that gives me great confidence actually amongst all of the community that that's the direction we're going in. And I'm hoping that anyone listening to this that is thinking about getting involved or has maybe had reservations before feels like, do you know what? Why not? I can do that. I can do it better than any of the people I'm watching right now. Then I hope that inspires more and more people. And if that means we get a more diverse community, then I don't see a negative to that. So let's do it.
Yeah, no, can't agree more, to be honest. And I think, talking about the women's game coming up, we've obviously had Tina Keach on the podcast before. She talks so passionately about the women's game, and you're saying there like how Football Manager actually do it. It feels like they're creating a second game within a game. They're, as you said, they're not going to scrimp. They're going to. We've seen the adverts for the researchers and staff. They're taking it seriously. So hopefully that does shine another light on it, and we do get some more creators turning up and people going, you know what, I fancy go. I can do this. And then, as you say, welcome in with open arms, and we all get better at that point. And the community sort of develops stronger. And as you say, if you're not on board with all that sort of thing, as Ben's eloquently put, fuck off. Quite frankly, you're not welcome. Everyone's welcome except you. And you know why. So I tell you, we're going quite long here. I quite like this. We could literally sit and do this we've joked about 3 hours. The conversation we had the other day was 3 hours. We're We should probably try and keep this one to less.
Yours was mine was 5, Tony. Mine went on for 5 or 6.
Well, yeah, I'm aware that yours was literally a working day on a call.
Yeah,
I heard the call.
It made me ill, so
yeah, I jumped off the call at 1, so I was like, it feels a little bit like in the pub going, what time did you get back last night? I got back I left about 1. There was still a few of them going, but I was like, oh, did you hear? One of them got finished at 4. At 4? What went on at 4? Did they go to a
pretty
club
ugly
or something?
There was Ali doing karaoke. It was off. It got so wrong.
He always does, doesn't he? He gets his bit between his teeth. He's away. We're gonna do a couple of quick questions, then we'll look to sort of wrap it up a little bit. You've mentioned, obviously, again, we're all in the same space here. A parent to a young child. How have you adapted to parenthood and with the stresses of content?
I mean, he's ruined it basically. I'd love to dress it up and go. He's really shone. He's made it so much brighter. He's improved it beyond belief. No, he's made me ill about 15 times in about 2 years.
Yeah.
And as a creator who has to upload daily and stream daily, and then people are going, "Why can't you record?" It's because I can't talk. Yeah, but I go to work when I got a cold. It's like, yeah, but I talk. This is what I do all day. I can't do it. So shout out to him. From a strictly parent side of things, he's the best thing to ever happen to me. He is unbelievable. But the amount of joy he brings both me and Ellie is, there's nothing. There'll never be anything else like it, unless we have another one, and then of course it'll be exactly the same, and they were perfect in every way as well. But so on that side, it's amazing. From a content side, again, it comes down to the pressures. So the pressures change. I'm not just doing it for me. I'm not just doing it for me and Ellie and our future. I'm doing it to make sure that when I disappear, he's cool. And there's not a pension scheme when you're doing FM content. So you're trying to build for him and it's that idea, isn't it, of building bigger all the time. Like I'm always now thinking about, like again, during the pandemic, I started a company. Just so happened that company was the Streamer Showdown. But you are thinking like, well, how does that turn into something more? And how do we make it more? And what does that leave me with when I either step out of this space or, again, continue to be like in sort of the pivotal nature I've sort of put myself into it as. I guess difficult. He's great, but he has made me ill. So it's quite simple. I couldn't love him anymore. But from a distance, in the early days, I'd be recording and you just hear screaming, and you're like, I could go parent. I could be working. So I do spend a lot of time where I'll go, can you just come help me with this? I think he's just done a period. Definitely needs his nappy change. I go, it's a meeting. I'm playing Valorant. I'm doing something completely other than like, no, I'm super busy. Give me 10 minutes. Should we start downstairs going, well, if it's 10 minutes, I'll just do it. I'm thinking, yeah, you just do it. I'll be there soon. I'll be there to come and take the credit. I'll come down and go, you being good? You're damn right you are. Yes, I'll be back upstairs working.
Give Daddy a quick cuddle. Yeah, there you go. We're cool. Yeah, we're cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Good night. Good night.
You mentioned that the screaming coming through on the microphone. That's the thing that's happened a few times, and even just the physical raid, of children on a stream has been something we've all experienced. But we experienced it the other night, didn't we? My two assistant managers rocked up when we were doing some wasted possession. Just going, Daddy, can we watch you on the computer? I go, you can. If you've got a short list, you can. But if not, you're literally not used to it at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. the most of Spanish strikers. I need it now, and otherwise you're no good to me.
Exactly. The most exciting Champions League win of my entire streaming career. I had a sleeping poorly 3-year-old on my lap just below the camera. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So we've just qualified for the Champions League by beating the team at the top, and we needed the other results to go our way. Well done. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, this is good.
We joke about that. Like when I first started, so I think I've been doing like 2 streams or something. I think I cheered and woke the kids up, and I was like, that got me in so much trouble that like I had to end the stream after about an hour. I was like, sorry everyone, there's been a slight incident. I'm gonna have to go downstairs and deal with this child now. So we ended up creating what we dubbed the silent celebration, which was sort of emote thing, and that was like, whenever we score, we can't make a noise. Right? And so it was just that was the thing. Going, we have to do that. Like we did some stuff with an esports team who were being sponsored by an alcohol company. We were drafting, and they were going like in the chat. They were going, "Is there a screaming child?" I was like, "It's mine." They're like, yeah, like the company aren't okay with it. I'm like, the company are going to have to just deal with it, right? Because it's that, or they come on. They go, is he on stream? He's on stream now. The company don't like that. I was like, the company aren't going to put him to bed, either. So he's here for now. Cut to someone else.
Yeah, well, the company be here at 3 a.m. because that's what I need. That's when I'm going to need them. So
just so you know, the alcohol that the daddy doesn't drink, they don't want you on camera, so you're going to have to go to bed.
Yeah, the demographic they're losing out on those in 2 decades is going to be. They're going to feel it. Believe you me, they're going to feel it.
We don't want our beverage to be associated with crying children. We want it to be associated with happy children.
Can you bring a happy child on
stream? 13-year-olds on the corner. This child's not doing it for us. Any other child. It's funny because part of his bed routine is about 7 o'clock. He'll come in and say goodnight, and if he doesn't get to do that, he just stands outside and bangs on the door until Al goes, "Go on, then open the door." But on Thursdays, I do the network game with Jack, Z, and Kev. So at the start of every stream at 7 o'clock, there's a child. I go, "Sorry guys, just have to mute up a moment." "Yeah, but come in." And then I'm waiting for this child to sort of burst his way in. Happy as like, "Yeah, good night, good night." It looks like it's like a mascot at the start of every show. Oh, by the way, I am trying to feed a child. So if you could just bear in mind, I'm a father. I've got a family to feed. So like, none of these guys have supported families at this point. Kev's way beyond that. Jack's alone, and Zealand's got his life to think about. But me, father figure, what you want to sit up here? You want to talk? Say hello then, bus. All right, that'll do. Yeah, he's saving for a bus. So those gifted subs aren't going to bring themselves, are they? So you just hope they all enjoy it.
You should definitely play on the whole mascot thing. Get him to bring the keyboard in. Like just.
Yeah, you'll know when I do a save. I do a save in like Lithuania, and he's wearing the kit. It's like, hang on, this has got a step too far. Why has he got a foam hand on? Like,
you know when you get him his first little car, put the ball on it and just drive it.
Yeah. Every kickoff, he's there. Yeah. Oh, comes in with a flag. All right, Doug. Drop the vuvuzela. It's really not. Come on, back it in.
Daddy, can I sing my anthem now? No, you can't.
And you'll never walk. Not now, Doug. We're not in there. We're not managing. We're not managing Liverpool. It doesn't work. Celtic? No, not even Celtic. Get out. Ellie, where are you? There's not a stairgate, honestly. Oh, good Lord.
No, yeah, I don't care what you say. That was not the Lithuanian national anthem, right? I'm not lying to him. He's done it wrong. It sounded a lot like Mr. Tumble.
What's he even doing at nursery? Do you know what I mean? What we paid for?
Standards are slipping.
Spoiling that boy. Spoiling him. Don't congratulate him. I demand word for word.
Oh, Jesus.
Do you need timetable stocks? No, but I do know 4 European national anthems perfectly. Oh, that'll do.
Yeah, he knows the wheels on the bus. He knows head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and he also knows abide by me as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah. He's got an excellent look on Marseillaise. It really is good. Yeah, the extended version is a bit much, you're right, but if you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
I don't understand why during the assembly he was doing the Poznan on his own, but he had a great time.
It's funny, right now. Well, just for context for the listeners, my partner Ellie's just messaged me, "Is your window open? You're being quite loud." I realised that next door, his window's also open, Doug's. Oh, you can definitely hear me. Sorry, Doug. And bonjour, je m'appelle. Anyway, get on with it.
as you know. Right,
Oh. Instrumental. Oh,
right, semi-serious question comes from long time listener. Craig Hadley, women's football content creator, has asked, with YouTube introducing raids and gifted memberships, do you think Football Manager streamers could soon make the jump to YouTube from Twitch?
Not soon, but it'll definitely happen. Because at the rate in which Twitch are cocking this up, it's inevitable, really. YouTube right now it's doing some exciting things. They're doing gifted subs. Their streaming platform is okay. It's still nowhere near as good as Twitch is. Like, as much as everyone wants to say it is, and they're doing similar things, and they'll take over in 2 years, they've still got the biggest steps to make. Like, in my opinion, YouTube have to get away from trying to make streams look like videos. YouTube almost needs to split in half. The play button that you see on YouTube needs to be cut in half. One side needs to represent videos, one side needs to represent streaming, and that is the point in which they take over. If they try and create it as if YouTube is one thing, one, it gets confusing for people that don't yet understand it, and Twitch right now is streaming, and YouTube is video. So they need to find a way to sort of separate themselves a little bit, which is difficult because, like, for brand power, you don't really want to do that. But in terms of making it viable for thousands of creators to stream on that platform, they have to become the go-to place to be. And even now, with all the things they're doing, with again, the built-in audiences they have, it says everything to me that you have thousands of YouTubers that stream on Twitch. And until and because that's the first lot that have to go, that have to find it viable. And right now, it's all a little bit too integrated with the same thing. As soon as they start to split it off a little bit and make it feel like this is where you stream, this is where your videos exist, and then it's not all in the same world. Because right now, if you stream, it just becomes part of your uploads. And it's like, well, I don't want this to be an upload. This is just part of my streaming. So yeah, there's still loads of things you have to do, whether that be where the chats work. The chat functionality is still dreadful on YouTube as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's just not good. Twitch do it far better. Moderation tools are significantly better on YouTube, on Twitch, sorry. But YouTube will be sitting here in 3 years, and Doug will know some national anthems, and YouTube will be the dominant force when it comes to streaming. And as a result, I think it'll just switch. There's the few people that stream on YouTube right now. Those people will exist on Twitch, and most people will be on YouTube. Is what I predict will happen. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what. We're about to wrap up. You know, we'll talk briefly about it. PvP. It's another episode. It's another episode, right? It's another episode, but we'll talk about it in the future. But before we finish, I will allow. We obviously did wasted possession last night, and in, quite frankly, the group of death, right? Yourself, myself, Curty, and RDF. Now, for the loyal listeners, viewers who maybe haven't seen the wasted possession VOD, go and check it out, because myself and Ben, we told a story that night, didn't we? We told a story where there was heroes, there was villains, and then there was us two, really. It started off badly for me. I lost my first two games, and we drew. So myself and Ben was sat bottom. Notice I've said my results. Ben had the same. We were both sat bottom. Okay.
I was thinking,
I was bottom.
If you're asking me to do mine, it's going to be a very similar story that we're about to tell.
What I did was let lots of goals in and only score one in my first 3 games. So Ben was ahead on goal difference. Then I gave myself a bit of a talking to and thought, hey, you know what would make good telly? Winning 2 games in a row and really putting the cat amongst the pigeons and giving myself a fighting chance for the last match. Did that. Had to take on DoctorBenjy in the final match. And what happened, Ben? Tell everyone.
I had a very successful 4-0 victory and ruined Tony's dreams and aspirations. I sort of did it the other way around. I started badly, continued to do badly, and at the very end, when there seemingly was no hope left, I decided, yeah, go on then, let's do this. And not only did I then just not qualify for the next part of the competition, I ruined Tony's chances of also qualifying for the competition. So I've got a massive grievance with Curty and RDF, who are disgraces to the game, and I should be ashamed of their actions. Equally, we sort of did that to ourselves. So I want to be more annoyed, but I'm also acutely aware that it is our fault. So, but if I'm going to lay blame, it won't be at my feet. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I went from second. I was second in the final match to bottom. I literally shot myself in both feet and just went, oh, it's difficult to walk, isn't it? That was my tactic, and 4-0 in, and you've now got an unblemished record against me. So
thank you.
There you go, the two powerhouses of PvP that we are, Ben.
There was a point, and I regret this now. Halfway through the tournament, it's not going well for me, and Cy Maggio turns up, who does the FM rankings, and I'm going, whatever you do not have my permission to use my name in the rankings. I do not want to see me in those rankings under any circumstances. Your pathetic little rankings that mean nothing on a game based on RNG, get me out of those rankings. So he's going, I am here. I'm going, good, make notes. I am not to appear on the ranking. I was very certain. And then I beat RDF, and I beat you at the end. And now I'm sort of thinking, I don't mind being in the rankings. Put me in the rankings. So,
dear Cy, look forward to the rankings. Keep up the good work.
People are going, well, just put like a fake name, just Man UFC him. It's like, well, yeah, that's going to really work, isn't it? Put in something which is very similar to my name, but not quite. Yeah, people are never going to figure that out.
Who's paramedic Benji? Who's he?
Yeah, that's what it would be. That's what people were suggesting. I'm thinking, I think they're going to know. Yeah, that's worse. People go, just put redacted. Yeah, because they're not going to figure that out, are they? The only person not on the list is me.
Richard Nixon? Surely not.
Yeah. I know what Cy's like. I will absolutely be there as redacted. I can't wait. Flipping heck, disaster has struck. So yeah, my blossoming career in PvP continues. I think I should just organise tournaments. I don't know why I'm taking part, really. It is sad. It's like Vince McMahon just putting himself in title matches week after week.
It's exactly it, isn't
pathetic
it?
is what it is. Yeah.
This will get the numbers up. Oh dear. Here he comes. He's up against The Undertaker.
He's been tombstoned again. Great. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, let's say next time you're on, we'll talk a bit more about PvP. Obviously, we'll talk Showdown as well, because again, that's an episode all in itself. But Ben, I mean, I've got to say, man, genuinely, like, thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome listening to you speak and stuff, and to talk openly about stuff. Where can people find you if they want to get to know some more?
Paramedic Benji on all platforms. So Dr. Benjy on most platforms. At Dr. Benjy on Twitter, Dr. Benjy FM on YouTube, and Dr. Benjy on Twitch. Basically, Dr. Benjy, and you'll probably find the links available. But yeah, thanks, boys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. Rich, where can we plug you? Where can we find you?
You can find me at Rich Owens FM on Twitch, and on Twitter, and Rich Owens FM on Twitch as well.
Awesome, lovely. And of course, I'm Tony Jameson on Twitter and TonyJameson.fm on Twitch. You can also, of course, follow us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/FMTPod. We are, of course, available from £1 a month, £3, £5, £10, and £20 if you're an absolute idiot who wants a free T-shirt. But yeah, no, genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure doing it. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you're all staying safe. We will see you all again for another episode of Football Manager Therapy.